Would The Rock be allowed in your ethno state?
I think he's Polynesian, I believe, right?
I think so. So yes or no or
I don't know. I'll have to get back to you on that. That's to be determined. I watched. Okay, so since you mentioned The Rock and I mentioned The Rock,
okay.
I saw his episode with Joe Rogan, and I gotta say, I mean, as impressive of like an entrepreneur and businessman and just a marketer, because I mean, this motherfucker has I don't know how many things
Mm-hmm.
like how many things he's endorsing, how many things has his name on it, and all that. That episode was about as mediocre as you could possibly imagine. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, the things about him where, oh yeah, when I started wrestling and all this stuff, blah 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 blah, it's inspiring, whatever. But then when they start talking about Israel Palestine, and I'm just thinking, The Rock is probably like the last person you want to talk to about this because Joe would be saying something that I'm pretty sure Dave Smith's been getting into his head about some of the stuff because he
Mm-hmm.
says some things that Dave also has said on the show. And The Rock's like, yeah, it's the gist of what he said was, yeah, so yeah, it's a really difficult, crazy situation over there. And, what's the solution? Like, how's they going to? And I'm thinking, this is the guy that one of the political parties apparently went up to him and said, hey, we know you're really popular and president of the United States. How's that sound? And I'm like, this is the guy. He doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about when it comes to foreign policy. This is the guy. It's like, yeah, I think we should do something about Israel Palestine. It's a crazy situation over there. Am I right, guys?
Yeah. It was the Republicans though, right? Didn't the Republicans want The Rock?
Well, he wouldn't say which party it was, but I mean, it's 50-50. I mean, whichever one, it doesn't really matter.
I'm pretty sure it was because I mean, like you had Arnold as the governor of California, and I mean that, in hindsight, you're like, how could this possibly have happened? Like, how could this have happened? And yet he got in, and then he was a terrible governor, and it wasn't even necessarily. I mean, Gavin Newsom's a terrible governor, but
Yeah.
people reflected upon Arnold as being a terrible governor, and then the scandals came out about his whatever. Made or
Yeah.
whatever and all that stuff. But the NFL has Taylor Swift and the XFL has The Rock. And that kind of tells you all you need to know about the about the power structure there.
Well, if there was a Republican, then that's pretty funny because didn't he come out endorsing Joe Biden, and he and Oprah are being all buddy buddy about we gotta donate some money to Maui. It's
Mhm.
crazy what's going on over there. And of course they got criticized because people are thinking, why are these multi-billionaires asking me for money? It's like, motherfucker, you could give them money. Like, what's the problem? I don't understand what are you talking about?
Well,
So
like the big knock on Biden is that he has dementia and he's not really in charge, right? Like there's a lot of people.
yeah,
Biden's not in charge. He's not really even the president. He's just a name, a placeholder. And there's people behind him that are really running the country. Well, if that is true, and I kind of think it is, and you consider that to be a bad thing, and I would, because there's unelected bureaucrats running the country,
right,
uh, then the whole idea of The Rock is literally that, right? Like you're going to The Rock purely because you think he's a winning ticket. You know that he doesn't actually know anything, and you know that he's going to be weak, right? Like I know it's counterintuitive to think a big strong guy like The Rock is weak, but he would be mentally weak. They would
yeah,
put people around him that would tell him, "You need to say this, you need to do this, you need to sign this, you need to authorize this." So that's because that's what they really want, though, right? He would just be a puppet for them. And so the smartest thing he could do is instead of informing himself on all of that, he could just say, "I just know you guys are probably evil pieces of shit, so I'm just gonna go ahead and take my hat out of the ring on this one." Doesn't
and
party, by the way. Could have been either one. The answer is
yeah.
still the same. Is you guys just want to use me, so I'm gonna nope out of here.
Maybe it was the Libertarian Party. They're just so desperate. Like, oh man, we need The
Yeah.
Rock, man. Come on.
Yeah. Well, if we can't get failed comedians, then we can at least
Yeah.
get The Rock. who is,
Yeah.
I guess, probably also a failed comedian at this point. I don't know. What is The Rock's primary job now? I mean, I know he like owns the XFL now. What else does he do?
Yeah, co-owner of the XFL, um, part-time, not really retired WWE wrestler.
Hmm. Which he's
Um,
kind of up there in years now, isn't he? Like, I mean,
yeah.
he still looks like he's in good shape, but he's not a
Yeah.
spring chicken anymore. So I don't think he wants to go throwing his body around the ring. So what does he do?
I don't know. Be a spokesperson for Acorns, um,
Hmm.
Zoa. I think he's like a shareholder in Voss Water. I don't know how I know all this
Hmm.
stuff about The Rock, but it's just
Yeah, you seem to know a lot about The Rock. Keep going.
because he might be the president in 4 years. So I don't know. Maybe I need to know about this guy in case he does become president and wants to kill us all later. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I think
He wants
yeah,
to.
but I do remember that little infomercial he did with Oprah saying that they need money for Hawaii, and
Yeah.
because I saw so many fantastic memes that came out. It was more Oprah than The Rock. Like The Rock
Yeah.
is a very wealthy man, but
Yeah.
Oprah is rich. Like
Right.
even in a world of rich people, Oprah's rich.
Yeah.
I mean, she's a billionaire, and because people made memes of Oprah like doing all these self-help guru pep talks, saying that if the here's what you need to do if you feel bad and life's not going well, and it said step one, have $1 billion.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Or that classic Norm joke in Weekend Update where he's talking about Norm's boyfriend. I can't remember what the guy's name was, but he wrote a book,
Mhm.
and he's like, "Oh yeah, 10 was like something like 10 steps on how to become rich or whatever." And step one is marry Oprah Winfrey or go out with
Yeah.
Oprah Winfrey. There you go.
I wonder why it is she never was able to stop being so fat. Like when you're as rich as she is, on the one hand, you can do whatever you want, and maybe you don't care about being fat. But on the other hand, it's like people that rich can just pay people to make them not fat.
I don't
Like
know. Maybe.
you can have surgeries, you can get your personal trainers and dietitians and stuff, and they just, you just follow the dotted line, and then you're not like, I'm not saying like get into shape to be in a Marvel movie. I'm just saying,
Well, I mean, Marvel at this point. I mean, who cares about Marvel movies anymore?
Well, I was gonna say maybe that's what The Rock can do, but he was in a DC movie. He was Black Adam.
Yeah, but it didn't do all that great the box office wise.
Yeah. Plus, it's like on the one hand they wanted to make Black Adam black, but on the other hand, The Rock's not black.
Yeah.
So
They should have put a little black smudge on him, black faced him. It wouldn't have
yeah,
been
could you
bad.
imagine they put The Rock in blackface? Because you know like 2/3 of people think he is black because
Yeah.
he's just a man with brown skin, so he must be black. Uh, I don't know. There's layers to that one.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't see Black Adam, but it was. I mean, they were hyping that movie, and The Rock was just promoting the hell out of. Oh yeah, Black Adam. Oh, it's gonna change DC cinematic universe forever. And then it did.
Mm.
Like, I don't know what the budget was, but I'd probably guess about $250 million, and I think it made maybe 350 million, which sounds like a profit, but when you put in all the marketing and everything else, it was not much of a profit. It probably even made less. I would probably say it was a disappointing just box office returns if I were to guess.
So the budget was between 190 and 260 million. So that was really good on your part. Uh, oh my god. So because you know that when you factor in like promotion and release
Yeah,
and stuff, a movie really has to make like 2 to 3 times its budget in order to just
right.
break even. It made 393 million worldwide. Ooh, ooh, that's a big yikes.
Yeah, 250 million, 393 million, and then yeah, so really it was about 700 to 750 million when you, like you said, factor in all the marketing and all the promotions and all the TV ads and all that. Yeah, that's not good.
Yeah, but the thing is too is like I know that a lot of people are gonna say like who the shit cares about Black Adam? Like no one Like, there's going to be some random comic book nerd that'll be like, "Oh yeah, Black Adam was my favorite." Like, okay, but for you, but
Right.
for think the public at large, people know who Batman is.
Yeah.
No one knows who Black Adam is. It's Black the Rock.
Yeah.
That's
Right.
no one went to the movie. So it's like, are you going to the movie because it's a Black Adam movie and that's your favorite character ever, or are you going to the movie because it has The Rock in it? The answer might be no to both. I'm just saying more people, I guess theoretically, might go see it because it has The Rock in it than because it's Black Adam. But I mean, no one cares. Like Batman and Superman. I mean, let's be real. Like that's all DC has, and they kind of screwed both of those up, so they don't have anything.
Yeah.
But
Like
it's with Marvel too, though, right? Like everyone's like, why aren't we making any money with Ant-Man and the Marvels? And it's like, because nobody gives a shit. If it's not Iron Man, Thor, and Captain America, no one cares. It's over. No one cares.
well, I would also put in yeah, so Iron Man, yeah, Captain America, like you said, but even Guardians of the Galaxy, like 3, like we just recently watched 3, and it was a
Mm-hmm.
pretty good movie. And I know that for that movie, that was supposed to be kind of the end all. A lot of the people who were in that movie don't want to do it anymore, or they're like, okay, we're done. James Gunn's like, I'm done with this.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe do a fourth one, but that's like way down the line. And that's even if the MCU is still even a thing now. But yeah, I mean, DC screwed themselves over when they had Zack Snyder do all that, whatever the hell he was doing with Man of Steel and all that crap. They really pinned themselves into a corner. And the MCU, the way they started, it was like, okay, we're building up to something bigger here. Like we're gonna have these little nuggets of,
Mm-hmm.
hey, we have this new information, especially when you watch towards the end of the end credits and all that. There's a little nugget here. Oh, Thor's coming up. Okay, so Thor's going to be up here in the next couple movies or whatever. And then Thanos is going to be the big bad guy. I mean, we saw that with Infinity War and Endgame. So you
Mm-hmm.
know, and Infinity War, in my opinion, was the best Marvel movie up to that point. And then Endgame was kind of like that epilogue. I was like, okay, obviously we know how that's going to end, but Infinity War was just like, man, what a great movie. And then after that, it's like Doctor Strange 2. Like, okay, I guess. And then yeah, the Marvels, like who the fuck? I don't know. And plus with the Brie Larson and how she handled the whole thing and how
Mm-hmm.
she's a woman and she's the most powerful character. It's like, okay, well, I don't know. The whole superhero movie thing is, I think, it was good from Iron Man up to about, I guess, the end when Endgame. Once Endgame was over, that's when it's like less interest now. Like
Mm-hmm.
now, what do we got? Oh, Ant-Man 3. Okay. Black Panther 2. Whatever. Nobody cares about Wakanda Forever. Nobody gives a shit. So
Mm-hmm.
like what? And also they screwed themselves over when okay, I have to watch the TV show. I have to watch a TV show on Disney Plus and then watch that. No, screw you.
Mm-hmm.
Before it was just the movies. They had all this other extra stuff, and I don't know.
Yeah.
It seems like a more of a waste of time now because before it was, oh, okay, so I have to watch this movie and then I got to watch this one, then Iron Man 2, and then the Captain America, and blah, blah, blah. It led up to something. Now it's what are we leading up to now? It's like it's all over the place. I have to watch this. I have to watch WandaVision. I have to watch whatever. I don't know what to do anymore.
So the biggest mistake that these people make, and Disney has done it with Marvel, Disney has done it with Star Wars, DC did it, is they think that if they have a very expensive, valuable IP, that well, you idiots will go watch it anyway. So we
Yeah.
don't really have to try that hard to write good dialogue and build good worlds and have good characters. We just need to slap the famous ones on the front and we need to get some good cast. If we cast the characters and they're popular characters, then we just auto win. And so they're finding out that, but we live in a world where there's just so many options, right? Like there's so
Yeah.
much stuff streaming, there's so much stuff online, there's so much stuff that's out and that's coming out, that you have so many options that it's not good enough to just take a popular character from an adaptation. and slap them on the front and say, hey, this is good enough. Like, here, okay, here's a hot take for you. Maybe maybe none of the Marvel movies were actually ever that good, and they were just riding on the coattails of a handful of pretty famous actors playing very famous IP characters. And when those were gone, there was nothing to fall back on because they couldn't actually write. They didn't actually have very compelling stories. They didn't actually write good dialogue. So JC's right. So the Winter Soldier was great. Captain America Winter Soldier was the best one of the bunch. Civil War was pretty good. The original first Avenger Captain America was pretty good. Winter Soldier was excellent. But it's because it actually is a good, like, if you just took that movie out of the MCU, if it was just, here's a Captain America movie and there's no post credits, there's no sequels, it's just, here's a movie. The movie's pretty good. It's a
Mm,
pretty good movie, and it talks about like some interesting and important like worldly topics, without shoving like ideology down your throat. And it's
mhm,
Captain America being Captain America, um, but but it actually has kind of like the whole good spy thriller espionage thing leading to the twist and the whodunit and whatever. Like, it's a great movie. So, but that's, I'm talking about it at length because that's an exception, not the rule. Most
yeah,
Marvel movies were just empty calories. Most of the Marvel movies, even before leading up to Endgame, most of them were just empty calories. And sure, Infinity War and Endgame, like, here's this huge, great spectacle to close this generation of cinema. But
mhm,
most of what led up to it was empty calories that was being carried by like the big three and the actors that played them. And I'll give you that Guardians of the Galaxy is in a weird place because, like 1/1 and 2 came in that earlier generation,
yeah,
and now 3 kind of came after that generation. So it's kind of like a holdover. Like, you
mhm,
remember these characters from when times were good, and so
yeah,
you kind of want to stick it out with them to the end. But with them being a small exception, that's it. It's over. And I the whole concept of like superhero fatigue or franchise fatigue, I'm not saying that that's not real, but I think it's heavily overstated. I don't think the problem is people are tired of superhero movies, although some people are. I think it's they're tired of bad movies, and they're bad.
yeah. I mean, that's why the Marvels didn't do well, and
There's
I
a lot
guess,
of reasons why the Marvels
yeah,
didn't do well,
right, yeah,
but yeah.
and Black Adam. That's one reason too. I mean, I didn't seen it. I don't know if I'm going to see it, but from what I've heard, it's that Black Adam already kind of comes across as a strong and powerful character that, I guess, because the way that I heard describe it was, for DC it was gods trying to be human, and for Marvel it was humans trying to act like gods. Other than Thor, I guess you could say, because he's already a god, but he still sort of acts human because he has that hammer. That's what makes him a god.
Hmm.
But I don't know.
I think a lot of people said that the first Wonder Woman with Gal Gadot was a pretty good movie. Of course, the second Wonder Woman was not a good movie. I think most people agree with that assessment, but I think it's also one of
Mhm,
those things where I did watch Wonder Woman, and I remember watching it at first thinking, well, that wasn't bad, but I
yeah,
also felt like it's self-contained. Like, it was a movie that, again, if you just tore it out and just said this is just a movie, there's no universe, we just made a movie, here you go, we're done with it now, it would be not bad. But then when they then string her along into this whole like DC EU, you're like, no, it doesn't really work. The character's just not really that interesting. She's really not that good of an actress, and there's just not a lot of depth to the character. All of the depth was in the original film. Like, that was it. They took all of what Wonder Woman had to give to that universe, and they put it in her origin movie. And now her little bits and all the other stuff is cringe. But and so maybe the moral of the story is that you make a good movie and you're like, and then you're done with it. You're like, here, this is now a part of the zeitgeist, and we move on to other things. It doesn't always have to be like they were trying so hard to compete with Marvel, right? Like they're trying to make a expanded universe that's going to be 40 films. Like, no, you make a good movie and you wipe your hands of it and you move on to a totally new product, and that's okay. You can do that still. And also, you can make a movie for less than like $1 billion. It can be done. People used to do it.
What?
Yeah.
That's
People
crazy.
used to make movies without setting a new all-time record for spending on a movie every single time you make a new movie.
Well, that's why Blumhouse, they have the formula of, okay, we're gonna make horror movies. The budget's gonna be about $5 to $10 million, if that. And man, are we gonna make a profit? Who horror movies are in now? Because if you make a really cheap horror movie and it makes even $50 million, perfect. We can use that money to make the next Blumhouse movie or whatever. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
they have the formula right there. Don't make this $250 million film and then add an extra 500 million to promotions and just hope and pray that, oh man, if we can get 500 million in China, perfect. Like how did Black Adam do in China? I would I would probably guess they're like, I don't want to. Chinese people probably don't want to see a black guy in the lead. I'm sorry, they also want to see a black guy in the lead movie. Maybe at least for this one. I don't know how Black Panther did, maybe because it was a net Marvel thing and that was already part of the zeitgeist, like you were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know how popular The Rock is in China. I have no idea.
Yeah.
I mean, because I don't know. And plus, I think with the going back with The Rock and how it seems like with his box office, look at what happened with Fear, like the Fast and Furious movies and the movies when he was in those movies.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, that was an ensemble, so he became a part of it, and those are making massive amounts of money anyway. But now he's part of it, and it's probably making a little bit extra because he's in it, because of the little intrigue of him and Vin Diesel, what's going to happen there. But then all the movies, it seems like where he's kind of he's the guy. Like the box office is okay. Like some of them, like San Andreas, it did okay, I think. And some whatever other leads he did, I can't remember the one with the freaking like I don't know what it was, like a gorilla or something. I don't remember what it was called. And then Baywatch, I think that was a flop. Like, so what exactly is he? Okay, so if he doesn't become the president, he's just gonna continue doing what he's doing. Now, if you were to become president, so let's make it like some kind of what if scenario. If if Dwayne the Rock Johnson became the president of the United States, first off, I would think if he wants to be more, since he is in Hollywood, he doesn't want to piss off anybody. He doesn't want to piss off a damn person. Would it be better off just being an independent and doing it that way? Because if he ran as a Republican, just because he has that R next with him, some people in Hollywood are like, nah, we can't have you.
Mm-hmm.
We can't have you be in Hollywood anymore.
He wouldn't run as an independent because that would mean he's running, if that makes sense. Like he wants to run because he wants to be president and he has a very specific platform in mind to run with. We already know that's not true. There's nothing going on.
What's his platform going to be? Yeah, what's his platform going to be?
Yeah,
Israel and Palestine. It's a crazy situation over there.
Yeah, so he's not running for president. He's being run by people. So he wouldn't run as an independent. So let's say he runs as a Democrat because the Democrats just are trying to score a free win. So it would literally just be Joe Biden 2.0. I mean, they obviously couldn't look or act any further apart, but it would be Joe Biden 2.0 because if he won the presidency, the moment he's sworn in, there would be his cabinet would be handed to him. They would say, "Hello, here's your cabinet picks." And when they get in, it would be like, okay, they're going to come in with stacks of papers every day that you need to sign. And God only knows what's in those documents. And he's going to sign them and they're going to appoint whoever they want to appoint. And you think of all the things that the president actually does as being part of the executive. Like you think of judge appointments. And I'm not talking about Supreme Court, but federal and circuit judges. Obviously executive actions. So you think of like drone bombing campaigns where they're misusing military authorization. So you think of like renewing the AUMF and you think of like executive orders for spending on environmental. Oh, they would be going hard on the environmental
Yeah,
stuff because
that's
he
true.
probably
Yeah,
thinks it's good. He's too
yeah.
stupid to know it's bad. So he would just, in his mind, he would be thinking, I'm actually doing something really good by doing this. I don't even have to worry about them misleading me on this one.
He's gonna be
So
rock bottoming climate change.
yeah, exactly. So you think of like anything that goes in with environmental. So anything in the energy sector. They would be, oh, we're going to stop fracking. We're not going to drill anywhere in the U.S. for oil. You think of arms sales. It would be like, well, The Rock might think to himself, wait a minute, are we supposed to be selling arms to Saudi Arabia or Jordan? And he would just be, the people who are actually running the country would say, well, look, that's what we do, and it's totally fine because they're the good guys. And he would shrug and say okay, and he'd sign the paper. And in legal terms it would be, oh, the executive signed off on all this, but he doesn't, he's not doing any of it. He's just a figurehead. In fact, the
Hmm.
less time he actually spent in the Oval Office reading or writing anything, the better it would be for the people behind the scenes. They wouldn't actually want him. They would want him to, if this makes sense, they would want him to just never leave the campaign trail. They would want him kissing babies and get blowing out hugs and kisses forever. Just keep doing that while we over here run the country. So like if you're an anti deep state
Yeah.
person, if you're looking for someone to drain the swamp, the opposite of that would be electing The Rock, because he doesn't know anything. The swamp would thrive with someone like that as president.
It would just be him on Instagram. It's like, he's working out at 4 a.m. again, but he's the president.
Yeah.
Isn't this cool?
Oh yeah, the official White House social medias would all be posting things of, look what
Can
he's
you
doing.
imagine? Oh my
He's out here
god.
running with his dog. 20 miles to start the day. Protein shakes, lol. I mean, that's all it would be. That's all it would be. And if there's a national tragedy, he would just try to put on his saddest face. And maybe he's a legitimately really nice guy, and maybe he would feel really bad when bad things happened. But he would
Right.
only, if something serious did happen, he would feel that much more inclined to go to the experts to say, "Hey guys, you just tell me what I need to do and I'll do it because I want to help." But we know who these experts are, right? So
Yeah.
it would be a disaster. And if anything, there's a good chance that the stuff that he does, in hard quotations, would be disastrous, and then people would hate him, and then he would wonder, why is everyone so upset? He wouldn't even get it.
Well, that's what happens when you're president. You're going to be liked by some people and hated by others. I mean, that's just how it's always going to be.
See, that's exactly why I don't think someone like him would ever run, because people like him are generally well liked, generally, right, from general audiences, generally everywhere. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm sure there's people that
He really cares about his image.
I'm sure that there's people that don't like The Rock's movies, but I don't think they hate The Rock, like hate him as a
Right.
person. I don't hate him as a person. He seems like a nice guy. People seem to
Yeah.
like him. I don't have any reason to believe he's not a nice person. So I don't want to hate him. But sure, if he became president and started basically just letting the shadow government control everything, then yeah, he would deserve that hate that he gets. So I think he's at least smart enough to know that that's a distinct possibility. So that would make me think he would never get involved in politics. If you get involved in politics, you're going to just instantly be hated by half by default.
What would be like when, like, you're talking about Arnold Schwarzenegger becoming the governor of California, and
Mm-hmm.
then like he's a Republican, but then you really look into what he's doing, and it's like oh god. I mean, I love Arnold Schwarzenegger's movies. I mean, he's
Mm-hmm.
and all that stuff. But man, every time I think about his political career, the whole time I'm just thinking, okay, it's great that you beat that Democrat or you got him out of there, but then you went in there and you pretty much did the same thing. So what did you do different? It's just you did it, and then he'd be like, oh, "I'm gonna terminate. We're gonna terminate oil, whatever." It's because he's trying to incorporate his
Mhm.
slogans into the campaign. That's what I'm thinking with The Rock. He would probably do something like that, like I was saying, rock bottoming climate change, or look at all these jabronis, something like that. Blah, 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 Smackdown Boulevard and all this bullshit. It's like,
Yeah.
come
Well, I
on.
mean, so again, Arnold is a perfect example. I mean, Arnold doesn't know jack shit. Like, let's be real. So when he got
No, what
elected
he no
governor,
no what he knows is Republicans and Democrats. We have to work together. That's how.
yeah,
I'm gonna make the Republicans be with the Democrats. We have so much division now. So what we need is we need better unity. It's like, no, fuck that. Fuck
yeah,
unity.
yeah, exactly. What we desperately need is no bipartisanship at all, ever. That's
Yeah.
the worst thing you can have, is because they're always going to agree on the absolute worst things. So the point being is that, so, okay, so Arnold doesn't know anything. So he's exactly the kind of person who is going to be surrounded by the experts who are going to tell him what to think, tell him what to say, tell him what to do, and he's going to do it. But what does he get for his trouble? See, here's the thing. You said that he gets elected and then everything's just basically the same, if not worse. So Arnold the man, this is what you get for your trouble. So you get elected, you're going to try to do everything right, and you're going to try to do everything, you're going to try to be better, because you're trying to not be just a member of the status quo, but you end up just doing everything you're told, but then they hate you anyway.
Right.
So the people on the opposite side of the aisle hate you because you're the opposition, and the people on your own side of the aisle ultimately hate you in the end anyway. You're just hated no matter what. It actually reminds me, I do a little sports analogy here. You know me, I'm from Tennessee. The Tennessee Volunteers in
Mm-hmm.
football were not good for like the last 15 plus years. They're finally starting to turn it around now, but they weren't good for a while. And there was a lot of people that said, well, we have a really famous alumni that should come back and get involved with the program, Peyton
Yeah, you're
Manning.
gonna tell. Yeah. Yeah.
And Peyton Manning had a great answer for this. And it was, I love the Vols, and I will support the team, and I donate to the school, and I would even be willing to come in on an advisory role. But one thing I would never do is be a coach. You know why?
Mm.
Because it can only make my profile in Knoxville worse. It can only go down. He is a god there. They
Mm.
literally have statues to his honor. The
Yes.
street is called Peyton Manning Pass, where the stadium is. So
Yes.
you think,
Good.
so if he does anything other than win the national championship, it's downhill. You see what
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying?
Yeah.
So if you're already revered and you can only have one way to go from there, which is down, then no. You just say, no thanks, I don't think I'm the right guy for this, and you move on. And that's exactly what any mega celebrity should do. Any mega celebrity that doesn't actually know anything about politics or want to get involved, and they're trying to talk them into it, they shouldn't. And any mega celebrity that does want to get into politics also shouldn't, because they're stupid pieces of shit and probably commies. So they shouldn't be involved either. None of these people know anything. But of course, the real answer here is really no one should have that much power, because no one can possibly know what they need to know, much less attract good and moral people to positions of power. It just doesn't happen. But those people especially shouldn't.